Hello and welcome to another episode of Sensational She-Geek live from Yancy Street. Today is Monday, March 8th, 2021. Today is episode 8A, and as it is Monday the 8th, I am going to be talking about the WandaVision finale. Episode 9 premiered this past Friday, and I will be talking about that episode in length. I got a lot of things to say about it. I'm sure everybody does. And after that, then, of course, I will be going into my standard weekly comic book polls, things that I'm going to be looking forward to picking up this week. Comic book releases are on the 9th and 10th, whether it's DC Comics or everything else. And after that, we have some other general WandaVision talk after that, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff. And that's about it this week. There isn't too much in the news as far as comic book media and things. The past couple of weeks have been chock full of that kind of stuff, so it makes sense that we're having a little break here, and we have so much WandaVision stuff to talk about that I'm not really concerned about this episode being a little shorter than usual, because it's the WandaVision finale, folks, and we're gonna talk the hell out of it. But first, I would like to mention a few things. I wanted to start off by reiterating that I have been doing a lot of writing on my blog recently. It's been primarily writing about Clea, to be honest. I'm a big fan of the character Clea. She is, if you're into MCU stuff, she may be relevant in the MCU coming up pretty soon. She might be on the verge of becoming what you may call a high-value collector's character if she appears, as the theories go, in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, which comes out, I think that's next year. Yeah, it comes out next year. But I've been writing a lot about her, and you can go on there and read about why I like that character so much. And I have also been doing on my YouTube channel a good amount of toy reviewing. I hadn't really done anything for a while, and now I am back to doing some new toy reviews, mostly Marvel Legends and other Hasbro things like the Star Wars Black Series. Specifically, the recent stuff that I've got put up is the Infinity Gauntlet / Old Man Thanos. It comes with the Old Man Thanos head, but it's the Infinity Gauntlet body. And then I've also done in the same video the Silver Surfer Obsidian is what they put on the box, but it's the Fallen from the same storyline as Old Man Thanos. And then I also did a Firestar video, and later on today I will be uploading a Armor Black Series review video. It's more just comparing the standard versus deluxe editions, because I have both, because I just thought her character was so cool. And today is also International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to my fellow women identifiers. I would just also, of course, celebrate all of your favorite female characters and real-world women, but remember that tokenizing a single female heroine as really the lone female heroine of the group isn't really actually doing much for celebrating women. If you would like to celebrate women, do that by including more women into your little club. That would be the way to do that. So, happy International Women's Day to you and yours and all of that good stuff. But this is going to be a primarily WandaVision episode. If you have come here for that, thank you very much. I hope you like what you hear. I hope you get some ideas and you get kind of sweaty about it. Without further ado, let's leap into the WandaVision finale, episode 9. So, this episode starts off where we left off, pretty much exactly where we left off in the last episode, episode 8, with Wanda facing off with Agatha, who is fully powered up in her witch form. She looks fabulous, and she has the boys, the twins, Wanda's kids, in her magic leashes, or whatever. She's got them in her clutches. They're on these weird little purple leash things. I don't know why. I guess she's using her magic to stave off their powers, too, so they can't get out of it. But anyway, they start to fight. Wanda knocks her down, tells the boys to run off, so they go and run off. They wanted to stay with her, but obviously she's not going to let that happen. And Agatha tells Wanda, this is the first really interesting thing that she says in the episode, "I take power from the undeserving. It's kind of my thing." So, I had said in a previous episode how possibly Baron Mordo might come after her because she's a witch who's abusing her powers or something like that, but this is definitely somebody who Baron Mordo would get along with, because remember Mordo's whole thing in Doctor Strange is there are too many sorcerers. Agatha saying that she takes power from the undeserving pretty much is saying the same thing. There's too many people using magic, and so I take it from those who shouldn't be using it, in her eyes. And so we see every time Wanda hits her, she's taking Wanda's power. She is siphoning it off, which was kind of a sideline theory that had been thrown around on this podcast a while back. But so she is trying to siphon off Wanda's magic, and she's taking all the power whenever she hits her. And every time that she's taking the power, Wanda's arms and her hands, it starts with her fingertips and works its way up her arms, they start to turn black like they're dying. And so Agatha, mid-fight, shit-talking, says she'll take her magic and leave her to her pathetic little corner of the world, is the phrase that she uses. So she clearly does not admire Wanda for creating this hex that she's put all these people in Westview. No matter how impressive it might be, she's not impressed. She doesn't admire her. She thinks she's trash. It's kind of what we're supposed to be getting from this. And everything Wanda hits her with is failing. She hits her with a car even at one point, and when she looks under the car, it's just shoes, like the Wicked Witch of the East, which was really, really funny. I don't think that's something Wanda really had the time to appreciate, but Agatha's got a pretty funny sense of humor here. I do appreciate it. During the fight, also, Agatha points out that Wanda has never fought another witch before, which is a major problem, as she's seeing. Agatha is basically responding to her magic with better magic. And then, of course, more problems arrive. White Vision arrives on the scene. Now, White Vision, we know, is Hayward's physical body that he rescued, I guess, commandeered, whatever the term might be, of Vision after his double death. And I guess he's been working all this time, and we finally saw in the last episode, he used a magically enhanced drone that was kind of covered in Wanda's magic to initiate life into White Vision. They finally got him online. And so now he's arrived on the scene. Agatha is briefly out of the picture as Wanda's knocked her back for just a second. But White Vision is now arriving on the scene, and Wanda, in her fragile mental state once again, just like with Pietro, she thinks that it's him, and she does question it. Is it you? But she doesn't take the time to put in the protective measures for if this is not really my vision. So she just kind of goes directly up to him. No concerns at all. He puts his hand on her face and says her name all lovey-dovey. Then puts his other hand on her face and starts to squeeze her head. And now I know, if there was any actual cracking noises that would be heard, she would be long dead. They put cracking noises in the special effects right there. That was a little bit intense. And makes me think that possibly Wanda had to use magic to keep from her head getting exploded at that moment. I don't know. We probably never will. And he also says to her, even more brutal on top of that, in her lover's body, her dead lover's body. And I was told you were powerful. And it's Paul Bettany's voice, but he's got this cool little, twist to it. I really enjoy the differentiation between the standard Vision voice and the White Vision voice. Whatever modulation they used on that was really cool. Vision takes this time, of course, to finally arrive. He's been on the way to Wanda, I guess, since he left Darcy back in, 2 episodes ago? He wasn't in the last, nobody else was really in the last episode, but he finally shows up, fights back White Vision a little bit, fights him back long enough to step in with Wanda, ask about the boys. She reports they're in the house, they're safe. She acknowledges, rightly so, that she should have told him everything that was going on as soon as she figured out what was happening. Yeah, I think you should have. That would have stopped a lot of these problems. And then, of course, White Vision shows back up. Agatha shows back up, too, by now. And she puts in this I really appreciated this joke about how it's Wanda's ex and her boyfriend at the same party. Because, of course, her boyfriend would be Vision and the ex would be White Vision, because that's the original Vision if you're going by his physical body. And I thought that was pretty funny because, obviously, it's just a funny joke. And then it tends to be going the other way. It tends to be a joke that's said about men who cheat on their wives and girlfriends. Wives and girlfriends, may they never meet. That's a very, very common toast and things like that. And I think they appear, toasts like that appear all over the world in different cultures. So, kind of nice that they took that very common misogynist thing and flipped it like that. And what we come down to, basically, is Wanda and Vision take their moment together to decide that they're going to fight for their home, the Hex. Meanwhile, Monica is locked inside Agatha's house. If you remember back in episode 7, at the very end, after all of those really cool reveals we got in that episode, Monica got stolen by Fietro, fake Pietro. And so now we finally get to see what was really going on with that. So she's locked inside the upstairs portion of Agatha's house with Pietro. And what she basically learns is that Pietro is really an actor named Ralph Boner, which... it's pretty funny. She says, "Your name is Ralph Boner?" And he goes, "Boner." How did Disney get away with that? I don't know. I guess Disney's getting more mature in their old age, so I like it. They're allowing themselves to say some more mature things. Boner. So his name is Ralph Boner, and Agatha enchanted him with, I guess you could say, Pietro's personality and powers, but keeps him under her thumb. She even gave him an enchanted, I guess you have to assume that was the enchanted dead body to appear that he had when Wanda's powers, quote, slipped, and she saw a dead Pietro underneath. That was all just Agatha messing with her, really, really screwing with her. So Monica now, remember, she has these new powers where she can see all different spectrums of energy, and she uses those powers to see that the douchey necklace that he's wearing is actually enchanted, and rips it off, leaving a very confused and terrified man named Ralph Boner on the floor in front of her. So that was definitely Marvel being very clear in their message that, guys, I know you liked what Fox did, some of you, but we're not gonna bring them in, okay? They're bringing in actors just because it's basically fan service. Yeah, we're gonna bring back this actor who is this, but he's not actually gonna play the person he played in that. We're just bringing it back so people can, like, see the actor in the movie the way they always wanted to. Which, you know, brings up, my husband and I were talking last night about that, and his thought was, since this happened with this actor, is it possible that this is also what they're doing with the Spider-Man? In Spider-Man 3, you know, there's all those rumors of, I'm getting off track here, but there's all those rumors of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming back and playing their Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. What if they're just gonna come back and be like, you know, a photographer and a pizza man, completely unrelated, not Peter Parker, could be from a different universe, but not a Peter Parker or Spider-Man in any sense from a different universe, you know? That's kind of a funny thought if it was actually like, everybody thinks it's going to be all these Spider-Man. Nope, they're just playing these funny, like, Stan Lee roles. That actually would kind of be very appropriate to follow. We don't have Stan Lee cameos anymore. Why not put in other cameos? Here we get this Quicksilver from the Fox-Men cameo. Why not get the cameos of the guys who played old Spider-Man? We don't have Stan Lee anymore. Put in his Spider-Man that he cameoed with. You know, the dudes who played him. I don't know. I got off track here, but basically, point being, this is Marvel being very clear that they are not crossing the Fox-Men over with this universe. They are not going to appear here, folks. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, outside the Hex, Hayward has been watching the two Visions fight on his fancy machinery, and he's captured Wu at this point. So he brings Wu down, and he's, like, you know, shit-talking him and everything. Wu says he's already called the FBI, puts in a line that he references the tampered evidence that we now know about, which Hayward showed to Monica, and I believe Wu as well, earlier on in the season. And now we know that he was probably showing everybody that to get his whole, you know, team on board with breaking the law or whatever it is that he's doing. Hayward tries to call his bluff about the FBI. Wu says, "Am I bluffing?" You know, he kicks him down, and Wu uses, thank you, Hank Pym, thank you, Ant-Man, for giving us the magic skills to Wu that he can unlock himself now. So thank you to that. I love how they keep bringing tiny little bits of Wu with his little magic tricks. His growing confidence with it as well has been incredible to watch. So fun. He immediately, as he's free, he immediately calls his FBI buddy and asks him if he can come within the hour, which is because that's how he's told Hayward his FBI buddy is going to be there within the hour. Now he has to live up to that. Back inside the Hex, Wanda is meandering around the town looking for Agatha, who has shown that she can disappear at will. And mid-fight, you know, she kind of like pops in and out of being visible, and she's really talking the entire time. It's very Spider-Man of her. And actually it's very just standard evil villain of her. Villains love monologuing, and that's what she does pretty much this entire episode. Mid-fight, she tells her things like, oh, this was a cool one. She tells her that there's an entire chapter devoted to her in the Darkhold, so we know that officially. I don't know if we mentioned that in the last one, but that is officially the Darkhold. We know that now. The Book of the Damned she even mentioned, so they're fully having that be the Darkhold. And she says the Scarlet Witch, I think she's actually quoting the Darkhold when she says this, based on how she says it, but she says the Scarlet Witch is not born, but forged. She has no coven or no need for incantation. She is her destiny to destroy the world, but the part that stuck with me the best here, folks, her power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. That was... I like Doctor Strange, don't get me wrong. I think that I don't understand why Marvel creators back in the day wrote him to be kind of a scumbag to his significant others. But, you know, I like him as a character, especially in the MCU. They've done a really good job portraying him and everything. So that's super exciting, and we actually get a little bit touched on that later on in the episode as well. To kind of drive home this horror that she is revealing to Wanda, in a sense, she starts by freeing various citizens. Agatha starts by freeing various citizens of Westview, and she starts with Dottie. Now remember, I was one of the people, actually, who really wanted Dottie to be Clea. I really wanted Dottie to be Clea. She looks like she would make the perfect Clea. But it's been very clear for several episodes now that most, if not all, the neighbors are going to be pretty much just that, and they're just going to be neighbors, or people who randomly happen to wind up there by misfortune. But Dottie, we finally get to meet her outside of Wanda's magic, and she says her name is Sarah. She says that she has an 8-year-old daughter, and she's very, when she's saying this, she's very rushed and angsty with everything. She says that maybe her daughter could be friends with her boys, Wanda's boys. She says, if you like that storyline, that is. And then she follows that up with the line, if you could just allow her out of her room. Holy shit, Wanda, you're having them keep their children in their rooms? They're not even allowed to see them. She says, if I could just hold her. Oh my, Wanda, what are you doing? and Agatha, she actually looks up at Agatha and accuses Agatha of making her say these terrible things. But then she just kind of like laughs and releases other citizens, and they all start to surround Wanda and mutter things to her and say this stuff, and they give her these ideas and you know, plead with her. That they tell her that they're exhausted, they're separated from family, they have nightmares about or actually, I guess it's when she lets them sleep. They phrase it, when you let us sleep, we have your nightmares. They feel her pain. Her grief is poisoning them, etc. They just go on and on about how this basically horrible situation that they've gotten themselves stuck in because Wanda has stuck them in it. And they just go on and on about this until Wanda is completely overwhelmed and she accidentally shoots out a bunch of magic, which ends up being just like Agatha's little ropes she had the boys tied on. It's the red magical ropes that are choking out all the neighbors. She's killing them on accident. And she has to actually try and put an effort to make it stop. She says, no, I didn't mean to, and makes it stop. She has to shake her arms and just tries wildly to make it stop, and it does. And that she doesn't end up killing any of them, thank goodness. And one of the women in the neighborhood says, if you won't let us go, just let us die. Oh, what? Ooh, yikes. All of this, of course, was to show that Wanda really is doing all of this without realizing this. Agatha's not tricking her into being extra powerful or anything, or accidentally casting spells. This really is Wanda not realizing that she's putting out magic into the world, probably the way that she has been her entire existence, and really is only just realizing. Like we saw in the last episode, she probably was flipping the probability of that Stark missile that landed when she and her brother were children, that landed in their house and didn't go off. It probably would have gone off if she didn't have magic, the probability magic, and that was really, really cool. We're basically getting that all confirmed now. Wanda has been using chaos magic her whole life without realizing it, and here we get to see her doing even more detrimental magic without realizing it. So that's all been extremely clarified. Back in the house, Billy and Tommy are inside, and they sense that Wanda needs help, so they start to head out, which is obviously going to be a problem. Agatha is now telling Wanda, heroes don't torture people. She's getting into her head. And so Wanda realizes that she needs to release the the hex. And so she does this, like, I don't even know how to describe it. She starts just releasing that massive amount of energy from within herself. And the hex starts to open up. The edges of the hex, the connecting hexagonal edges, start to break apart, and Wanda commands the citizens to run out as quickly as they can, and they do. So we can assume that a good amount of people got out, if not most. Hayward, of course, on the outside of the hex, sees all of this and takes it as his chance to get inside, which he does, which he takes a bunch of his, armored vehicles and stuff with him. And as the walls start to open, Agatha starts to laugh. And this is, kind of all, we're waiting for this to happen. Vision is up there fighting White Vision somewhere in the sky, and he starts to fall apart into the point that he actually falls out of the sky and lands, as I predicted watching it, right in front of Wanda, pretty much. And the twins, as they were heading out to help her, they actually fall to the ground, falling apart as well, screaming, crying out for help to their mother. And Wanda, she gets it. And she starts crying, and Agatha steps in and verbally explains what's going on for those of us who don't understand. She says, "You tied your family to this twisted world, and now one can't exist without the other. Save Westview or save your family." And of course, seeing her children screaming in pain and agony, and her husband really the same, trying to help the children and horrified that this is all happening, she, of course, closes the hex back up, and at this point, Hayward is inside, Wu is outside, he is right when the FBI arrive, just as the hex closes up. They arrive to speak with Wu the way that he requested, and Agatha starts to attack the whole family. She's got them all in a somewhat weakened state because they're, if nothing else, in a massive state of shock based on what just happened, and Wanda has to throw up a protective shield around them all, like Sue Storm style, and ends up protecting them that way. And of course, Agatha starts taking the magic that she's putting up in this shield and siphoning all of that off, and Wanda's arms and hands start turning black some more. White Vision shows up, Hayward's people show up, everybody pulls guns on Wanda's family, and the scene winds up with the whole family, the 4 members, standing in the awesome Incredibles stance. So that was nice. We all, of course, wanted to see that, and of course we finally got to see it, which was very satisfying. I wish Fabian Nacina, whatever the hell his last name is, he is a shitbag Marvel creator, he tweeted that as a spoiler, and then started roasting or trying to roast the people who followed him, who called him out on it. So he's a piece of crap, but yeah, that scene got spoiled for me, so thanks to him for that. Vision heads off to get his ass whooped by White Vision. They have this little back and forth. White Vision's directive is to kill Vision. The whole fight is going really poorly until Vision kind of realizes something, and he basically starts a theological query stopping White Vision in his tracks, and that query is, which one of us is Vision, basically? And he relates them to a, I guess, older tale of Theseus and his ship. The scene is full of meme material, as I'm sure you may have already seen. The whole episode is full of pretty good meme material. What they come down to with the whole Theseus Vision thing is that neither is the true Theseus ship, and both are the true Theseus ship, which means the same for them, as being Vision. So, Vision ends up coming to the conclusion that memories are just as important as to being the thing in question. So, he, figures out that White Vision's memories have just been blocked off from his access. So he allows him, being Vision, grants him access back to his memories because they were just hidden. And there's this really cool moment of, you get the more humanoid eyes in White Vision, and his face kind of changes a little bit too, and they stare at each other and mirror each other, heads tilting back and forth like puppies. A really cool scene. And I don't think there's anything really spoken until, there's no lines, it's them staring at each other kind of in surprise. And of course you had the big rush of memories that came back to White Vision right before that, when Vision allowed his memories back to him. And so there's a silence as they stare at each other, and then White Vision says, "I am Vision," and just takes off. And, we don't see him till the end of the episode. Or we don't see him at all, actually. I don't know why I said that. We don't see him at all for the rest of the episode, which we will probably see him next in a team movie, if I had to guess. I don't know. Moving on. Wanda, meanwhile, has been going off to fight Agatha up in the Hex, up in the, the sky. Tommy takes out all the guns for the sword people down on the ground, and then Monica arrives on the scene, and she witnesses the end of Tommy stealing all their guns, and she also witnesses Hayward raising the gun that he still had tucked away in his belt or whatever to fire on the two kids, because he sees them as a threat. Obviously, he just wants them out of the way because they're causing problems for him and his takeover here. So he fires at the kids, and Monica, using her new powers, gets in the way. She, flies over there, gets in the way between the gun and the kids, the bullets and the kids, and she turns into, when the bullets hit her, she turns into pure golden light energy. Oh my god, this was so cool! It was basically, the slow motion Superman kind of stuff that they would do with bullets flying by slowly, but they start going into her and she just turns into just pure golden light, and you see the light energy absorbing all of that energy from the bullets and just putting it into Monica, and so the bullets just kind of plop out from behind her. They go through her and just fall out the back, just onto the ground harmlessly. Really, really awesome way to show, and it's yellow now. The last couple of episodes that we saw Monica with her powers, it was blue, and now it seems that the more she uses them, the more she's absorbing energy, and so the more actual powers she's getting, and that's why now it's golden now, which is what it is in the comics, and I am really, really excited to see it evolve more as time goes on. Hopefully we will. And of course, Billy, using his own magical powers, he stops a bullet as well. A little bit cheesy, but, he's a kid. He's a child actor. What are you going to say? Hayward tries to drive off, knowing that he is basically done, and he gets T-boned by Darcy, one of our final loose ends, who is in the funnel cake truck that Vision had taken off from in a previous episode, and she T-bones the heck out of him and basically makes it so that he can get arrested once, things get settled. Meanwhile, Vision arrives back on the scene, and he gathers with the kids who are not shot thanks to Monica, and they're all standing around watching the final battle between Wanda and Agatha way up high in the sky. She tries to go into Agatha's head, Wanda, and the way that she did with the Avengers in Age of Ultron, putting her into a negative memory, she decides to put her at that scene we saw in the last episode, the flashback scene in Salem, where she slaughters her witch sisters. Wanda she reforms the body, she reanimates them so that they can go attack the one who killed them, but the thing is, as soon as they're alive or, animated again, they sense Wanda. They turn around and look at Wanda, recognize she's a Scarlet Witch, and they start to attack her. Even in her own initiated dream sequence, these other witches know what she is. That's pretty crazy. That's how intense this Scarlet Witch whole thing is. This role of being a Scarlet Witch, that going into a memory, that these witches in this memory will recognize her from her own time. That's just really cool. I don't know if that's just me. That shit is awesome. The witches, they tie her to the stake. Agatha starts doing her whole evil monologue again. She tells her, power isn't your problem, knowledge is. Really important to remember that. It comes in handy later. As they tie her up and start threatening her, she gets her cool little glowy Scarlet Witch crown, little red magical crown, kind of the same way that Agatha's mother did in that flashback sequence, but she had just a Ice Queen looking crown thing. So this is a Scarlet Witch version of that. It was pretty cool. And Agatha actually offers to correct the flaws of Wanda's original spell as long as she gives her magic. So then Wanda bursts free, snaps her back to reality. They're both back in the Hex now, modern era. and she starts basically giving Wanda, she actually says, take it. She doesn't want the magic. She starts shooting wildly at Agatha, giving her the magic, because at this point she's realized the more I shoot Agatha, the more she actually is taking my power, not just getting hit with it. So she starts shooting wildly. So many shots are missing Agatha. Some of them are hitting her, giving her the energy, shriveling up Wanda more and more. Vision can't help. He tries to, and they just push him back down onto the ground with the boys. Most of these shots are still missing Agatha, and she fires until she's basically just shriveled up, floating there in the sky, drained. Agatha starts going on and monologuing again about how a spell can't be changed, i.e. she just lied back there when she said she would fix her original spell. So that was all a lie. Big shocker there. Agatha's bad. But then Wanda starts to regain life as Agatha discovers she can't cast any spells. She looks around, and lo and behold, Wanda learned a thing. When she was missing Agatha, she was actually writing spells on the walls of the hex, the physical walls of the hex itself. They're the spells that Agatha showed her in the last couple of episodes. The ones, actually it was the last episode. The spells that make it so that only the witch who casts them can do magic in any given space, in that given space. Boom! Agatha, you thought you were showing off? You were really giving her a trump card over you, and she just used it perfectly. And of course Wanda comes in with the, thanks for the lesson, but I don't need you to tell me who I am. Oh yeah, bitch, let's get it. So Agatha and Wanda's powers, she basically takes them all back. She was fake giving all of Agatha her powers, and now she is fully taking both her powers back as well as Agatha's purple magic. She's taking it into herself, leaving her magicless, helpless, completely on her own. And as these powers go back to Wanda, she comes out on the other side of this power-up as full-on Scarlet Witch, just the way she saw in the last episode when she reached out to the Mind Stone. So, I know I had mentioned the whole Nexus being thing. I had explained it a lot. It doesn't seem like they're going in the direction of the Nexus being stuff. And if they do go in that direction, it hasn't been revealed yet. So I think it's super, super safe to say that last week when she connected with the Mind Stone in that flashback and saw this fully formed Scarlet Witch form of herself, that I think really was just her seeing her fully realized true form, not another reality Nexus version of herself. That was just her potential she was seeing. And now she has reached it. Fully realized. She looks excellent. Agatha actually says some things a few times about how she doesn't know what she's done. So there's clearly some more going on about the Scarlet Witch stuff that Wanda doesn't know that Agatha might know. We don't know, that we're probably gonna have to find out the hard way. Wanda at least will have to find out the hard way. I know when Agatha was talking about the Scarlet Witch taking the lines from the Darkhold, she said that she was going to destroy the world, destined to destroy the world. So there's going to be a lot of darkness that Wanda still has to face here, clearly, and she'll definitely have to ask for Agatha's help, as she's now there. She takes her down to the ground. Agatha is completely powerless, and she tells Agatha that her punishment will be she's staying here, in the role of the nosy neighbor, the one that she chose when she popped in to be nosy neighbor with Wanda and Vision. And Agatha, of course, understands what this means, and she begs, tells her it's cruel, tells her once again she has no idea what she's unleashed, and that she'll need her. Wanda, of course, comes in with the very perfect response of, well, then I know where I'll find you. And she turns Agatha into Agnes once again, and you can feel the pain behind her expression, behind her eyes and her voice. Oh my gosh. She tells her she lives there now, no one will bother her, and Agnes comes out with, not if I see you first, huh, at their goodbye. I think that was totally the real Agatha slipping through. Obviously she's gonna come back. I think anybody who's out there saying we're not gonna see this character again is stupid. This is something we're gonna see probably in Multiverse of Madness. I would be pretty surprised if she doesn't show up then. I got a lot of thoughts about this whole thing, but let's finish the episode first. Wanda, now that she's dealt with Agatha, she can go and she talks to Vision. they have their little discussion and they realize that, or they come to the conclusion, I guess, that this reality is not for them. And once again, we're talking about different realities and universes here. Woohoo! Wanda starts shrinking her hex inward, slowly closing it down, basically, to the center, which is where it began with her house. The family gets home that night. They tuck the boys in. They've all walked back to the house together. She tells the boys, "Big day today. We're both very proud of you. Family is forever, and we could never leave each other, even if we tried." They're saying their goodbyes to their sons, their fake sons, and they're also consoling themselves. I don't know if the boys have any understanding of what's about to happen. Probably not. I would think that's pretty dark if they did. But Wanda and Vision obviously do. So they say their goodbyes, and as she's turning outside of the room to close the door, she looks back and says, "Boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom," which brings up a bunch of questions again, but that's probably, if we go into that, it'll be in a different movie / series. We'll see. I have to mention also, you may have seen memes of Vision wearing a black turtleneck. The black turtleneck itself is not photoshopped. He really is wearing a turtleneck. I'm not sure. When I watched the episode, I watched it twice now. When I watched it the first time, I kind of I didn't notice it, really. I was kind of caught up in the moment, I guess. But the second time, after having it pointed out to me how bizarre it is that he's wearing this black turtleneck, it's really weird. Why did they put him in this turtleneck? This is very strange. So random. And honestly, hilarious. The meme material, once again, that has come out of this. Oh, I gotta wipe my eyes. I'm starting to laugh too hard there. It is funny. I highly recommend looking that up if you've seen the episode, or if you just don't care about spoilers. Real funny stuff. Not sure why they put him in a turtleneck, but it's a very emotional scene, so it's even funnier. They gave him this ridiculous outfit in this very emotional final scene that he's in. So they go downstairs, and Vision asks Wanda what he is. She gives the kind of little speech here. She says that he's the part of the Mind Stone that lives inside her, a body of wires and blood and bone that she created, her sadness and her hope, but mostly her love. And then they kiss. This made me even more certain that a key element of who Vision is, or rather what maybe Vision is, the true Vision, is that a key part of him comes from the Mind Stone. I don't know if it's stating the obvious, but I feel like her having connected in the past with the Mind Stone was the first time she met Vision, and that's why she has that connection, and that's why that part of him lives in her, because she's had that connection with the Mind Stone for so long. And so that part of him that lives in the Mind Stone, that lives inside her, they met way back then when she was a teenager in those experiments. I hope I'm kind of making that make sense for you guys, okay? But anyway, that little speech she did just kind of drove that home, that the Mind Stone really is that integral to Vision being Vision. And now the Mind Stone, if I have that right, the true Mind Stone that birthed Vision, so to say, is destroyed, right? Because Thanos took it back. Yeah, because Thanos took it back and destroyed all the stones after Infinity War, the beginning of Endgame. And then they just went back and hijacked them and put them back, so they still would have ended up destroyed. So that Mind Stone is gone. It'll be interesting to see. I'm getting too off track. We need to finish the episode rundown, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they end up pulling another Mind Stone, creating one. Who knows? And the stones did originally were tied into personalities and beings, so it'd be interesting to see if that is the direction that Marvel, the MCU Marvel goes with this Mind Stones, of the various stones, But anyway, so they're still having their little moment. They're saying their goodbyes. It's clear Vision knows what's about to happen. He says here, he has been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what might be next? Really great line. And of course, they saved it for this moment. They didn't want to waste it. We finally get the single tear running down Vision's cheek. Now, this is an iconic moment. It's a lot of people's favorite comic book moment. It is from Avengers number 58, the second appearance of Vision. It comes from basically there's this whole talk about amongst the Avengers. This is back in like the 60s or something. This is back in the day. There's this whole talk about how how much it would be awful to be a feeling emotional human personality inside an android body. And then later on in the issue, they offer Vision a job to stay with the Avengers. And I believe it is actually Hank Pym who has the very famous line about, if you could see him now, you would understand that an android really can feel. Something along the lines of that, and he has the single tear that runs down his face because he's emotionally touched. And he decides to stay with the Avengers, of course, and is no longer officially a villain after that point. So they saved it for this moment. I thought it was going to happen in Age of Ultron when he has that speech to Ultron at the end of the movie before killing him, because that was very much a humanity is worth saving speech. It's a good place to put it. But this saying goodbye to his only love, they put this in a beautiful place. I think it works out perfectly. As the episode is winding down here, there's a single tear that runs down his face, and he says his goodbyes to Wanda. The hex has finally reached the house, and it's closing down, and he unravels and is then gone, and Wanda is left standing in the empty framework, or the empty groundwork? Not even any framework of the house, just empty lot. Once again by herself. She puts her hood up, she walks into town, and everyone who is now free, remember, is staring at her for good reason. It's probably lots of mixed emotions towards Wanda right now. The sword trucks are still there, and she approaches Monica. Monica tells her that they, meaning probably the world, not just the people of the town. Well, I think she really means the people of the town, but at a bigger stance, I think she means people of the world who will see this and not understand what fully happened. She says they'll never know what you sacrificed for them. Wanda tells her that it wouldn't change how they see her. Very dark outlook on things, but probably, still a little bit realistic. Monica tells Wanda that she doesn't hate her. She asks if she hates her. She says, I don't hate you. Given the chance and the power, she says she would have brought her mom back the way she would have brought back Vision. This scene was so well acted. The way they did Monica so well. Perfectly. It's everything that I was hoping they would have for her in store, and we have so much more hopefully in store, but we're getting to that. Wanda then apologizes for the pain that she's caused. Obviously, this has been a lot of problematic shit going on. She says she doesn't understand her power, but she will. And we hear the sirens start to get closer. She says her goodbyes to Monica and flies out, and as she flies out, she transforms on the way out. She stops at the outskirts of town, out by the Westview sign, and looks back at the whole town as she saw it when she first arrived, and moves along. And that's how the series ends. Of course, there are 2 credit scenes. The first credit scene, we get Jimmy Woo, authoritarian. No, that's not right. Jimmy Woo telling people what to do. He's delegating. Monica comes up to him and she's got a cute little smile as she says authority looks good on him, which it does. Give this man a team. Somebody asks Monica then, just some random shield or sword lady to meet that she's been asked for in the theater. So she goes to the theater, the actual movie theater that's there. The soldier lady takes her in. The room is empty, and the soldier lady walks up to her and transforms into a Skrull. I think she's Talos' wife. She says that, she says, I was sent by an old friend of your mother's. Heard you've been grounded. He'd like to meet with you. And Monica goes, where? And she points up. She's gonna go meet Fury. This was so cool. You have to imagine that Fury was one of the people who she didn't put on her shit list, I guess you could say, after everything that happened with her mom kind of happened. Everything that's happened has happened. As I've said many times throughout the talking about WandaVision episodes of this podcast, there is definitely going to be some tough love or bad blood or something of the like between her and Carol Danvers because of the way that she basically disappeared, came back, promised she'd never disappear again, and then did. And her mother died alone in that time, it seems. We have no reason to assume that Carol came back to say goodbye to her mother, especially after everything we learned about her mother's death in this series. So Nick Fury is probably somebody who she looks up to, because of everything that he's kind of been involved with. He's stuck on Earth. I don't know if... We can't really make assumptions on if he ever spoke to her mother after Carol went off into space again or what. But the fact that she has been chosen... Remember, Nick Fury is the one who started this. Was it... No, it wasn't Incredible Hulk. That was... Tony Stark shows up in the Incredible Hulk. But then he shows up... Nick Fury shows up in the first Iron Man, and he wants to talk about the Avengers Initiative. Nick Fury was the one who started all of this, who started the teams, basically who got, he was the real part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.W.O.R.D. is what we can kind of see him as now, I guess. And now he has reached out, he has seen her, he has chosen her, and he has summoned her. Not to be weird, but I think that's super cool. And they're definitely, I don't think we're going to see Monica again until Captain Marvel 2. I wish I could say otherwise, but I just don't see a reason for them to bring her in. Unless, potentially, in the Ms. Marvel show? I don't see that happening, really, though. So we're going to see her and Fury having met, or possibly meeting, probably just having had met already, and are being buddies, co-workers, whatever. And she'll probably be the Captain Marvel of Earth when we see her in Captain Marvel 2, because Carol's still off in space taking care of space stuff, presumably. And that's the first end credit scene. We do get a second end credit scene. It is a big, big call out. I think it's a giant shout out to the Incredible Hulk, because if you look at the Incredible Hulk being how technically this all started, with him, they recast him, yes, but that movie is still technically canon. We're going to have people who are going to be coming back into the She-Hulk series from that movie, and it is listed in the whole MCU lineup of phases and shit, so it is canon, it is still part of this, so I definitely think that they purposely put this scene in, going down into the secluded cabin in the mountains with the river and everything, just like they did at the end of The Incredible Hulk with Bruce Banner. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think they did that on purpose as a call out to that movie, because this is really, I want to say this is the end of an era. Not really the end of an era, but I guess you could say the start of a new era. That's better. Yeah, this is the start of a new era. Because you see, the Hulk started everything that we've seen up until this point. And now we're seeing Wanda initiate this multiverse stuff that we're going to see basically through the next, at least phase, if not several phases. So I definitely think that was a call out to the Incredible Hulk, because this is exactly how the Incredible Hulk ends, more or less. Going down into the secluded cabin in the mountains, 100% how it ends. And you see Wanda sitting on the step, the tea kettle goes off, and so she goes inside to get that, but we, the camera, pan towards the bedroom, where we see the Scarlet Witch floating mid-room, legs crossed, with a Darkhold in front of her, magically flipping through the pages, listening to the voices of her sons calling out to her. Oh, and that's how this ends. This shit, oh my god. So excited. Scarlet Witch is initiating the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And going back to the whole Incredible Hulk thing, the Incredible Hulk ends with, however many days without an incident. It flashes on the screen. It's been some amount of days. And you go and you see Bruce Banner meditating in his cabin. And he's meditating. Clearly this is how he's been keeping from having an incident. His eyes open. They're green. This ends. She's flipping through the Darkhold. She hears their voices. Her eyes flash up to the camera glowing red. That's how it ends. Literally, this is a callback to the Incredible Hulk. I'm literally talking myself into it as I'm recording this podcast. But you can't convince me otherwise. This is a callback to the film that initiated technically the MCU, because this is initiating the next phases of the MCU. I am just getting myself super pumped up about that as I talk about it more and more. Also, this is Scarlet Witch in the astral plane, right? Her flipping through the Darkhold. She's in the astral plane. That's her astral form. But her as Wanda, still going around doing things, taking care of her life. Remember Doctor Strange when he goes into the astral plane? His little, fully formed Doctor Strange astral plane body goes off and does whatever it wants or needs to do. Meanwhile, his real-life corporeal self is passed out on the floor in whatever chair he left his body in. Scarlet Witch is so much more powerful than Stephen Strange, and I'm so here for it. She can be on the astral plane and still have her body out there doing the stuff that her body needs to do to survive. That's gonna cause so many problems. Also, because people are going to be coming up to her asking her if she's causing this stuff to happen, and she's going to be like, oh no, I'm innocent, I'm here, I couldn't have been over there doing that, I'm not that powerful. Bitch, you know you're that powerful, we just saw it. I'm getting way ahead of myself. This was a really, really awesome way to end things. I definitely think that this is Scarlet Witch going to scour the multiverse for a universe where her children really do exist, and she's probably going to end up taking them. Who's to say right now if it's going to be a detrimental or less detrimental thing for any amount of time? I personally think that it's going to be maybe a universe where they are in need of her, or she hears the voices calling out to her. Maybe that's a universe where she has died and they are calling out for help because they need her help, or they're going to die or something like that. And that's where she steps in. Because that's kind of what happens with the comics is, after all this stuff happens with House of M and her kids, she ends up taking her kids from a different universe. Excuse me. And they pop in to the 616, and that's just kind of where they live now. I definitely think we're going to see... Well, I was going to say I think we're going to see them older the next time we see them, but that's not really a safe thing to say, is it? They could easily make it so that these two young actors are going to age into their roles as these characters, rather than recasting the older versions of them, teenage versions of them, versus what I would call preteens here, or at least older teenage years. So this whole this whole thing. Scarlet Witch kicking off the next era of movies. Also, it kind of makes me wonder, I'm thinking back now to that Kevin Feige interview where he said that he and Sam Raimi, the director for Multiverse of Madness, have worked together to make sure that if you have not watched WandaVision, you will still understand the things you need to know from WandaVision about the multiverse, Scarlet Witch, Darkhold, whatever it is that we're going to need to understand in Multiverse of Madness. So now I'm kind of wondering, how are they going to cover, what tools are they going to utilize, to cover what we've seen in this series somewhat briefly and quickly in Multiverse of Madness. I imagine they're not gonna be doing flashbacks or fill-ins or anything like that. Marvel's not stupid. I imagine they're gonna be doing it the way of really excellent filmmaking, just kind of assuming that your audience is paying attention, or at least paying attention enough to be giving a shit what's going on, and just have it kind of through dialogue, through background, images, newsreels, things like that. They'll have the story kind of fill in for people. Some other thoughts about the general episode. As I said, we probably won't see Monica again until Captain Marvel 2, but on that note, I definitely think that she's going to be a major, major key player in Secret Invasion. That is, a ways down the road still, but it's definitely, we've already started seeing we saw the first crumbs of Secret Invasion dropped in Captain Marvel when we were first introduced to Skrulls, so technically, this isn't even the first crumbs of Secret Invasion. Monica's jumping on board with it. I definitely, on that note as well, think Hayward is still a Skrull. There's no way in the era of, or I guess the technology levels that the MCU is at right now, that they will be able to tell if he's a Skrull or not. It doesn't seem that that's ever become, Skrull human identifiers have never really become a common thing in the world, it seems. So if I'm right and he does turn out to be a Skrull, that's going to be something, again, that we don't see probably for a good while. He's been put into prison now, assuming we can assume, because he's been taken off in handcuffs, but who knows what's on the other side of that. It could just be another Skrull person who's taking him and making it look like he's getting arrested and is really just, palming him the key at the same time, right? So many things. we're really speculating so far into, just, we're speculating on top of speculation, basically. There is a, let's see, Darcy. Darcy, the next time we see Darcy is probably going to be in Love and Thunder. I don't actually recall, I did not look that up before I did my podcast today. Ooh. If she is actually confirmed in Love and Thunder, I'm fairly certain she is, just because it wouldn't really make sense to pull her into the MCU for this and then just leave her out afterwards. So hopefully we'll be seeing her in that. We'll probably see Wanda next in Multiverse of Madness, as, I'm sure everybody is agreeing, because as they have said multiple times, this series is meant to directly lead into that. So we'll probably more than likely encountering Wanda in Multiverse of Madness. If they decide to tack on the route of the Nexus beings things, then potentially we'll be seeing multiple Wandas. We could really just be seeing multiple versions of everybody, and Nexus has nothing to do with it. We could be seeing the Nexus of Realities in Multiverse of Madness. I think that's the thing that probably makes the most sense, to kind of make the multiverse traversable, I guess. And when we do see Wanda in that movie, this version of Wanda, our Wanda, she will probably be searching the multiverses still for her sons, or potentially perusing them with her sons at that point, depending on how far ahead she gets between now and then. We've got a year of our time. We have no idea right now how much time is going to be between WandaVision's ending and the beginning of Multiverse of Madness. We know that probably Spider-Man Far From Home is happening during WandaVision. It's only been a short amount of time since Endgame happened. And of course she was snapped, so she's been gone for those 5 years that took place between Infinity Wars and Endgame. Or I guess the beginning of Endgame and whatever. You get what I'm saying. But yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how she ties into things kind of going forward with that. Woo, Agent Woo, Jimmy Woo, my man. We'll probably see him next in whatever comes next involving superhero stuff on US soil. He seems to be he's probably going to end up being a major sword player now. I was assuming that Hayward was the sword leader on Earth and Fury is the sword leader in space. I'm not really sure about that now. If Fury was watching Monica, he would have been aware of what Hayward was up to, or possibly he just wanted to let that play out and see what happens and trusted the rest of them for handling it, But I'm hoping we'll get we'll seeing as he ended this in somewhat taking up a position of power, authority, it seems, we'll hopefully see him continue that. And Kevin Feige has also mentioned that an all-Asian superhero team is probably closer than we think. We're getting Shang-Chi later on this year. We're getting Ms. Marvel later on this year, ? There are so many Asian superheroes that we can bring in for this, / could be or already are bringing in for this. If we're doing that Agents of Atlas. Of course, that's the second era of Agents of Atlas. The first era was Namora and 3D Man or whatever his name was. Really very off-kilter stuff. I would prefer it to be Jimmy Woo starting up his all-Asian superhero team. I would be all over that. That would be pretty cool, especially following Shang-Chi coming out. But we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for him. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to the WandaVision finale is something that we call in my household Queen of Fables syndrome. And it's something that all of us pretty much who have been watching and theorizing about WandaVision, myself and my husband included, are guilty of. And that was, in this case, it was assuming that Agnes / Agatha was not powerful enough to be the only person causing problems for Wanda in Westview. Assuming that she was not powerful enough to be that key player, It's something that happens a lot in comics. You can talk about women in refrigerators all you want, but what this really is it's a little different than that. It's female characters not being allowed to retain their overpowered status. You see it with Carol Danvers in the comics, gosh, off and on through the decades, really, where she is depowered from time to time because she becomes so powerful that, she becomes unstoppable. And the argument against the people who say that, oh, she's too powerful, well, Superman, period. That's all I got. Superman. What about Superman? What about Superman? He's too powerful. Nobody ever bitches about him being too powerful. Why can't we have powerful women characters? I hope I'm making sense here, because I have a lot of feelings about this, but I apologize to Catherine Hahn and the character of Agatha Harkness, because I myself assumed that she was going to be second in command to the true villain of this show. That there would be somebody else really pushing the buttons, and she was just the face of the project at the moment. And we all were wrong about that. There was so many theories that assumed that there was Mephisto, that there was Nightmare, that there was Baron Mordo, that there was Chthon, that there was so many others. Gosh, there's names that I don't even remember, that I don't even know what they were, that I came across because they were such deep-cut male names from the comics, because it seemed that we were all so desperate not to have Agatha as the villain. And I am so sorry to her for that. I realize now that it was really unfair for us all to be really assuming that she couldn't be the villain, and I am extremely proud that she is. It's really, really awesome to see this show, if you think about it, was really surrounding a multitude of strong female characters. You have Darcy at the bottom of the list, really, if you're counting just a few. You have Monica, you have Wanda, you have Agatha. That's really the only ones you need to put in that list, because those are the characters this show ended up being about. Otherwise, you have Hayward, Wu, and Vision. And that's kind of it. This show was about a bunch of strong female characters, and when it came down to it, it was Monica versus Hayward, and then it was Agatha versus Wanda. So it really came out to be a very strong women against women, women against men, whatever it is. But it was very women-heavy battle scenes that we got, and they were really well handled. And I would like to see more of this. I would like to see more women-led projects in the MCU, be that women as villains or women as heroes. Of course, we saw Hela as a female villain who was excellent. We probably won't be seeing Hela again, though. That's the thing about Hela. A lot of these Marvel heroes, villains, they bring in, and they are kind of this one hit for this one movie. Loki, obviously, and Thanos being major exceptions to that. But Hela was one of those. I am so happy that Agatha is not gonna be one of those. We're gonna see Agatha again, and we're probably gonna see her in the role of an extreme villain again. We may see her a little bit as a teacher, too. More likely as villain, because we'll see if the relationship changes, but we're gonna see Agatha again, and she's probably gonna be up to no good. So whenever she gets freed from Wanda's little spell she put on her. So that's something I just wanted to punch in there for Women's History, or whatever it is, International Women's Day. I know Love and Thunder is one that's going to be coming out that's going to be very women heavy, with Valkyrie and Jane Foster. By the way, did you see, I should have just put this in my news segment, did you see those pictures of Natalie Portman looking swole as shit? I follow her on Instagram, and I didn't realize it until I saw those pictures. She has not been posting as much recently, and I think that's probably why. They're probably trying to keep her physical transformation, whatever that may end up being, under wraps. But the whole point that I wanted to bring that in is I'm really, really glad the petite little Natalie Portman has bulked up. I am a 5'9" woman myself with Slovak blood that gives me very large head and broad shoulders and bone structure in general. So I like seeing muscular as well as tall women in cinema. And while she's not a tall woman by any means, Natalie Portman, I'm very, very happy to see her bulking up. And I want to see more of that coming in movies and things. And that pretty much wraps up the WandaVision talk for this week. I'm really overall thrilled with how this series ended, but I still do have some things I need to talk about that is not WandaVision in this episode. So let me pull out of this for just a moment, and we'll get into some other comic book chat here. I have a couple other things that I wanted to talk about that are outside of my representation spotlights for comics. Things that are coming out this week that I will also be reading, including Batman Urban Legends #1. It is an anthology series. I believe there are 4 or 5 stories in each issue. I'm not sure if I'm going to be reading the ongoing series. It is by Chip Zdarsky, who is, like, I would say, Tom King and Vita Ayala, one of my go-to writers who I will pretty much enjoy anything he writes, no matter what it is. However, I'm not sure if I care enough about this Batman stuff that's going on to read that. I've kind of fallen off the Batman wagon a little bit, or gotten on the Batman. I don't know what it is. I've strayed from my Batman fandom. The reason that I want to get this issue is because it has a Stephanie Phillips written, Laura Braga drawn Harley Quinn story where it's Harley tracking down Poison Ivy. We saw there was a Jody Houser series, 6 issues, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, that came out last year and 2019 to 20, that saw, it basically was Tom King in Heroes in Crisis killed Poison Ivy. He brought her back in the end of the series as a being of the green. So my whole theory with that, from that point, was that she's going to be basically the new Swamp Thing. The Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy 6-issue Jody Houser series was kind of going with that a little bit. It was Ivy trying to figure out how to live without a body, basically. She's just a being of the green. She's made out of plant bits. So it was her figuring that out. Harley deciding that she wanted to be a hero now instead of a villain. And then it ends with Ivy having basically accidentally done some things that turned her towards being a villain again. And since Harley wants to be a hero so hardcore, they kind of split at that moment. However, during the Joker War, in this ridiculous, stupid Batman stuff that was happening in 2020, there was a tie-in, I believe it was the actual Joker War tie-in, whatever that was called, Joker Warzone or something like that. And it had a single issue that was also drawn by, or a single story that was also drawn by Laura Braga, where Poison Ivy is holed up in a cave or something in Gotham, trying to she's basically waiting out the Joker War, and Harley is out. Harley kind of just left her there. It didn't tell her, anything. She just kind of left. She didn't come back, and Ivy is now furious because she has to defend their little area here by herself from all these clowns. And she basically just says, you know what? Fuck humans. I'm done with this. I'm not even one of you anymore. I'm now Queen Ivy. Bow before me. Goodbye. So the Stephanie Phillips Laura Braga story in Batman Urban Legends #1. Now that I've gotten all of that explained, I love Poison Ivy. In case you didn't notice that. But I'm not one of the ones who sends hate mail about her if you right or wrong. This Stephanie Phillips Laura Braga story is Harley finally trying to track down Ivy. Now, moving on from this Batman Urban Legends book, but sticking with the Ivy stuff for just a second here. I talked about last week how Rambeau is putting Ivy in issue 3 of his Swamp Thing series, which is a new Swamp Thing, and how he's also putting her into an upcoming issue of Catwoman. So something's happening with Ivy here, guys. I'm here for it. Whatever it's going to be, I have a feeling it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait. Rant about Ivy over. I will also be picking up this week Deep Beyond #2, which is a Mark Andolfo co-written series. I wasn't super happy with the first one, but it's kind of seemed like one of those books that gets better as it goes along, probably, so I'll pick up issue 2 and see if that's right. Also, Maniac of New York #2 is a really fun 3-issue series that's now on its 2nd issue, about a serial killer who is unstoppable, basically terrorizing New York. Really fun concept, very dark, but the 2 women characters who we're following to watch it all play out, I'm really interested in seeing how they develop and whatnot. We also have Eternals #3, continuing to follow Icarus and his various, family members or whatever, as they figure out the new role for themselves in the current era of Marvel Comics. Homesick Pilots is one of my absolute favorite current indie series, and that's only on issue 4. It's coming out this coming week. Again, this is one that I can't praise enough. If it's out there at your shops, definitely pick it up and check it out, because you will not regret it. It was before the first issue was even over. I knew I was going to be in this for the long haul. X Factor number 8. That is a Benjamin Percy, Jonathan Hickman, Dawn of X title, or I guess now it's Reign of X title. There's been some really crazy stuff happening in the series. I prefer this to Benjamin Percy's Wolverine, so I'll probably be sticking to this one before that one. And then we have Daredevil number 28. Chip Zdarsky has been killing it on every single issue of this Daredevil run. The art by Marco Caccetto is sultry and fabulous. And we now have Elektra as Daredevil, which is something I didn't ever really think about, but now that I have it, I never want it to stop. I know it's temporary, but I want this forever. Elektra Daredevil, I can't get enough of it. And finally, last thing I'll talk about here is Wonder Woman number 770 is the first issue with Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad post-Future State. It's going to be, I guess, following Wonder Woman through her new role as whatever the hell it is that she is. For some reason, she's wearing a super Norse-looking outfit, which Wonder Woman's like Greek Roman, super not Norse. I don't know why they put her in this Norse outfit. I feel like they're trying to hop on the Thor hype that's happening in Marvel right now, but I don't know, man. It's weird. It's a fine enough outfit. I just wish it wasn't so Norse. If they themed it more towards her appropriate origins, I would have liked it a lot more. I love the pants outfit. She had that Greek Roman pants outfit back in gosh, whoever it was, I think it was New 52. Yeah, it was during the New 52, possibly pre-52. Whatever it was, she had that pantsuit that was awesome. I don't like this one so much. It looks Norse. So Norse. And that wraps up the comics this week. This is going to be an extra long podcast episode because I don't want to do anything injustice by not talking about it, and we do still have a couple of things to mention before I officially wrap up the whole week. However, this is the end of the comic book portion of the episode. Leaning back to WandaVision for just a moment, there was some merch that was announced for WandaVision today and the recent couple of days. And I just want to mention a couple of things. A lot of stuff like shirts, pop announcements, and pre-orders. A Wanda Barbie. There was a $90 GameStop pack of the Wanda's Scarlet Witch crown, which I guess has an elastic strap to hold it to your head. I feel like they probably could have figured out how to do that a little bit better. And it also comes with Monica's sword necklace that you see, a little silver necklace that she wears. It's $90. And I just want to point out here that if you want Monica's sword necklace, you don't need to spend $90. You can just buy it on the Disney website. It's already there. You can just buy it now and get it shipped in the next couple of days. Just saying. The crown is really cool. I don't think it's $90 cool though. The main thing I wanted to mention though, I had talked about how, I collect action figures, and it'll be pretty cool when we get the action figure for Wanda because the suit is so awesome. But Hasbro is pretty disappointing with their stuff. Hopefully it won't be that disappointing. Well, guess what? It is that disappointing. This shit is bad. This is the worst possible attempt I think they could have done for her Marvel Legends. It's a Walmart exclusive. You can look up pictures online, but basically it's the wrong color red. It's a fire engine truck red. Her sleeves, which are a dark, dark, dark red in the show, are fire engine red. They didn't paint those silver blue chevrons that are on her legs that are honestly super sexy. They didn't paint those. It's just indents in her sculpting. They put bright red stripes on her legs and bright black stripes on her torso when they're in reality very much more subdued colors in the MCU. She has the standard Hasbro blank face syndrome that they put on female characters. They can't seem to put an expression on a single face these days, period. And her feet are miraculously tiny. Diamond Select did actually reveal theirs as well. It is somewhat better, although she's wearing a cape. She doesn't have a cape in the show, so I'm not sure where they got that from. It must have been a very generic outfit description or something. I don't know. And finally, the very last thing that I will finish up this podcast with is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier starts in a week and a half. It will premiere next Friday, the 19th. This Friday is going to be a WandaVision behind-the-scenes episode where I'm hoping they're going to include both behind-the-scenes filming footage as well as interviews fully confirming the various theories and things that everybody's been talking about since the episode premiered. And I'm hoping that we're going to get the same level of development in Falcon and Winter Soldier that we got for Wanda for Falcon and the Winter Soldier themselves. They did a great job of driving home the characters' personalities for Wanda and them all, and their past and everything, so that you can understand her, MCU characterness and everything. Hopefully they'll do the same with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I really don't want to end up with one or the other of them being, like, a fan favorite. I would rather them both be extremely well developed, yada yada yada. And of course a lot of stuff about Sharon Carter today, as she was one of the promo pics that they released. It was Bucky, Sam, Sharon Carter, and Baron Zemo. I'm glad they've made Zemo's purple mask work pretty well. I'm really excited for this show. I am excited to find out who the mysterious teenager is, if that is in fact Sin or not. It's going to be really fun. I'm excited for that. And I'm probably going to be going through the episodes the same way that I have been doing with WandaVision. So that, I guess you can keep an eye out for if you've been liking these. The last episode I put up, I covered episode 2 of Superman and Lois sometime after I covered the weekly pull list, or pick list, or whatever it was. And the next episode is going to be this coming Friday, the 12th of March, where I will be again talking about what I loved most from this week's comic book releases and other noteworthy comic book happenings and events of the week. That wraps up the episode for this week. I will hopefully see you Friday. If you have anything you would like to say or review or anything like that, go ahead and do that on whatever viewing, streaming service you are listening to this on. It is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as Podbean. I can be found online. I have a website, sensationalshegeek.weebly. Excuse me, let's just try that again. sensationalshegeek.weebly.com. I don't pay for it, and that's why I have the Weebly extension. But it has all kinds of writing about current comic books, things that have already come out, and I have links for all my podcast stuff, and also reading lists for my favorite female characters, where I go through and write about the issues that they appear in, from my perspective, how the events seem to be. You can also find me on Instagram. My username is Anna with the Comics. My name is Anna. How you doing? You can find me on Twitter at Savage She-Geek, because sensational was too many letters. And I hope that you enjoyed this week's podcast. Thank you very much for listening if you made it this far. It is a little bit of a long episode, but I really, really had so much to talk about WandaVision, as I'm sure everybody else did as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Give me some feedback or thoughts, or, if there's something you would rather have me talk about or mention, any questions or comments or concerns, anything like that, please let me know. I can't know if you don't tell me. And I will hopefully see you, or you will hopefully hear from me this coming Friday. And stay sweaty.